Nicole Grant. Grant, come on up.
Here.
Right there's fine, yeah. Okay, looks like Mr. Lovinger's not been served.
He's being held at a mental health facility, so I have spent countless hours on the phone with OPD, Centralia PD, the Thurston County Sheriff's Department.
Okay,
So he could not be served because he's being held in a mental health facility.
okay. And do you have any idea how long he's going to be
After they
there?
have a violation, they're not willing to give me that information.
Okay. And
So the most recent situation happened June 15th. This is my second interaction with him. That was a Thursday.
so he was not in the facility on the 15th of June, which is 11
No, that's
days
when he
ago.
was on my property and also harassing a 15-year-old female after he left my property, and trespassing on her property. So I believe he was sent to the facility June 15th. And then, so they attempted to serve him on Tuesday because Monday was Juneteenth, which is a holiday.
Right.
They went to his home to serve him, OPD, 2 officers, and his mother said, he's not here. He's being held in a mental health facility in Centralia. So OPD told me I should call Centralia PD. Centralia PD said, you have to call the Thurston County Sheriff's Department. And the Sheriff's Department said, we have 1 deputy, boo-hoo. I don't know what we can do for you. And so here I am. But I have done everything in my power to
Sounds
do my
like
part.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, out of my control that he's in a mental health facility.
Yeah.
I do have documentation that I'd like to share with you today if we're not continuing this for another day.
Well, we can't do anything without him being served.
Okay.
There's no conversation we can have really unless
Okay.
he's served. So that's the major obstacle right now in front of us in this
Okay.
case. All right, so I will reset one time until the 10th.
What does that mean, one time?
Because
Why only one time?
we can't just keep adding. We get cases all the time, every week, every day. People are filing a case. We can't keep the ones that are.
So I'm
strung out.
penalized because he is mentally ill and being
No,
held in a mental health
okay.
facility?
Hold on. We'll talk all about that when you come back to court. I'm going to give you a chance to try to get them served. You can talk to the sheriff's office. If somehow they're saying they didn't have the person power to go down and serve, although I'm not quite sure why they would go to Chehalis to do it, or Centralia. The facility is within Thurston County?
That's what I was told, yes.
Okay. Okay, well then, their office is right next door. I mean, as in just out the door here.
What about the legality?
Okay, yeah, hold on, slow down.
Okay.
So go talk to the sheriff's office and say,
Okay.
do you think you can get somebody down there? I have a reset for 2 weeks. I don't know how many resets I'm gonna get. Can you get somebody down there to get them served?
What about the legality of his mental decompensation and understanding that he's being served?
That could be an issue.
So what does that mean for me?
Then you can talk about it next time and say they went down there and he was served, but he's still in the institution. I think I see that he's a neighbor of yours. You would know when he comes back. Would you?
No, I
Would you
don't
see
know
him?
when he comes. I don't monitor his
No,
property.
okay. I'm asking. You don't see him when he's around.
No.
Okay.
don't.
All right. So you can make that point when you come back in 2 weeks and say, I need a little bit more time. But I'm just letting you know, we don't have infinite time on this.
Okay, I don't have infinite time for him to harass me on my property.
Okay, you don't need to explain that to me. I get you want this order.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I have an 8-year-old child who's
okay,
not safe.
okay.
I'm not safe,
Right. Service has to happen. That's
Okay.
the obstacle we're talking about here.
Okay.
So, part of it will be you being as persuasive as you can with law enforcement to see if you can get them down there. I would talk to them every day and say,
I do.
okay, I'm just,
I can't hold their hand and force
okay,
them
you don't
go
need to
there.
explain to me how hard this is. I'm just letting you know something, my thoughts as to how you can help. And if you're doing everything, then I don't know what else you can do. I'm
Right.
just letting you know, I'd walk over there now, say, here's what happened. We got reset. I really need this person served. And then I check in all
Is
the
he
time.
allowed to legally be served when he's decompensated mentally to the point of being a court order hold in a mental health facility? Is he of sound mind to even legally be
I don't
served?
know why he is in that. Maybe he's just there receiving some medical attention. We don't know the state of his mental capacities at the moment.
Well, he's,
No, we have lots of people in mental health hospitals who are just being assisted. They have competency. Okay, I'm not going to argue with you. I
I'm
don't
not
know
trying to
why.
argue with you. I'm asking you very simple questions. to
Yeah, no,
understand
I
my
told you
rights.
that could be an issue.
Okay, great.
It could be an issue.
Okay.
But if you don't know his state actually, and I
Then
don't
it's a
know his
HIPAA
state actually,
violation. That's not my legal right to know that.
I know this.
Okay,
So we don't know whether that's going to be an issue. It could be an issue.
okay.
Okay. We're going to get you a copy of this and then you'll just walk it next door to the sheriff's
When am I
office
supposed to come back here?
on the 10th.
There's no other day that I can come?
It's only Monday mornings.
So this is twice that I'm gonna have to miss a necessary medical appointment for my son, but I had to reschedule today.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. There's nothing we can do about that. This calendar is Monday mornings. So if you, when you get this, if you'll just walk it over to the sheriff's office and you know they have it right now, and you can talk to them about trying to get it down and get it served. And so that you don't have to keep coming back if you keep asking for resets because he's not served.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
The first case I'm going to call then is Nicole Grant versus Stephen Lovinger. Yeah, please have a seat at the table. Mr. Lovinger, would you turn on your camera and microphone, please? Thank you. This is case 23-179. And I'm going to start by addressing the respondent here because Mr. Lovinger, I see according to the record of service that it was filed with this case today that you were served on Friday. Under the rules, you're allowed more notice than that. So if you're not ready or prepared and need more time, I would give it to you. If you don't feel like you care about the short notice, then we can go ahead with your hearing.
We can go ahead, I think. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right.
Do you know what you would like to do?
No.
Sorry, it wasn't coming in very clearly there. So I'm sorry, Mr. Lovinger, could you repeat what it is you'd like to do?
I can sign the pink pieces of paper. Yeah. This stuff.
Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Would you explain that?
The trespass warnings. Or
Okay.
is that what it's about?
No, it's not about a trespass warning. Ms. Grant has petitioned the court for a anti-harassment order against you. And that's the kind of hearing we're here for today. This doesn't have anything to do with a trespass warning.
Okay.
Did you read the papers that were served on you?
I got one of them. Temporary protection order.
Is that the only thing you were in?
Yeah. And the Zoom link.
explain?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Okay, so according to this return of service that the court received from an April Stowe, she served on you on Friday a reissuance of a temporary protection order. And I don't see that any other documents were served by her.
Okay.
Okay, so let me ask you, Mr. Levenger, did you receive a copy of the petition for an anti-harassment order that Ms. Grant filed with the court?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I don't see proof that you, so you don't really know what this is about yet, do you?
No.
Okay, so you just came to court because you got this notice served on you by April Stowe?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's not about a trespass warning issue. This is Ms. Grant asking the court to issue an anti-harassment order that would have, if it was issued, would have some severe potential legal consequences for you. And you have a right to have notice of what that is and a right to be prepared and then be heard on it. And I'm a little bit concerned that you haven't gotten the proper notice and that you're not really prepared to respond to that petition.
Nope.
Yeah, that's kind of what I expected when I saw this return of service. Okay, so just hold on one second here, Mr. Levenger. Ms. Grant, you wanted to say something.
He absolutely knows what this is about. He does. He was told. He trespassed on my property the first time, May 23rd. He then trespassed on my property again on June 15th when he was peering into my windows after being told to not come back to my property. I have documentation from neighbors. He was also served, his two adult brothers came and were in my neighborhood and requested to speak to me. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. I left court for the first time and drove to the Olympia Police Department. I provided the service papers be distributed by Olympia Police Department. I spoke to Angela Johnson in records. Olympia Police went to serve him at his home, and his mother, Linda Levenger, answered the door and said, "Stephen is not here. He's being held in a mental health facility in Centralia." OPD then called me on my phone and said it is my responsibility to contact Centralia PD. I then called Centralia PD immediately, and I was told by Centralia PD that the only mental health facility he could be held in was called Maple Lane, that I was responsible for calling the Thurston County Sheriff's Department to have him serve him. I immediately did that. I was told they only had one deputy, but they would attempt. The sheriff went to serve him at the facility, and he was told he was not at that facility. A few days ago, a neighbor came and knocked on my door, a neighbor who provided a statement of what she has witnessed and experienced with Stephen in our neighborhood as well, and said his two adult brothers, David Levenger and Joel Levenger, are at another neighbor's house and they would like to speak to me. I went across the street. I explained to them what Stephen has done to me on my property multiple times. I provided them with all the documentation that I received of the temporary no contact order. I explained that he had been harassing me. I explained he had court on Monday. I called they said he was not in Maple Valley. He was being held in Cascadia. I called Cascadia that day and asked if they would be willing to serve him. They said no. His adult brothers then called Cascadia and said, "We would like you to serve him this paperwork." They said no. I then called Olympia Police and was told, and they told them that he would be returning back home and he should be served. I have been trying for over 3 weeks with 2 different police departments and a sheriff's office to have him served. My neighbor, Dale Ray, walked over with April Stowe on Friday afternoon when we were told by his adult brother, Dan Levenger, "Stephen is now home, you may go serve him." So Dale Ray walked across the street with April Stowe. April Stowe served him, and Dale Ray said, "You need to leave him or her alone. Don't go over there. This is about you repeatedly going on her property. Stay away from her." So he fully understands what today is about, and he has had ample warning from his family, from the legal system. You know, I have tried. This is my 3rd time coming to court. I have tried endlessly. So he knows what this is. He knows he has been told repeatedly not to trespass on my property. I have statements from other neighbors who have told him not to trespass on my property, who I share the property
Ms.
with.
Grant, I'm gonna kind of stop you right here.
Okay,
We're kind of getting back to where we started. Okay, much of that, I have no doubt is absolutely true, but not all of that is what's important at the moment. What's important at the moment, in order for this to be fair, and when I say fair, I'm using a colloquial term for a legal term called due process.
Mhm.
Okay. And I am responsible under the law for making sure that everybody who comes into court and has a hearing has due process.
I understand.
That's what I'm doing. Now, I know that that can turn out at times to be frustrating, and at times it can make things take longer than you feel that they should. I completely understand and sympathize with that.
I've also
But-
missed.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you not to interrupt me, okay?
Okay.
Mr. Levenger has a right to know what this is about in the legal sense. In other words, to have properly served on him notice sufficiently in advance so that he can come to court and have a fair hearing. I'm concerned because the record in this case shows that he was served on Friday. That's not enough time. Today's only Monday. And second, the service that was accomplished on him was not complete. Only a portion of what he's entitled to have notice of was served on him. He's not in a position to respond to this in a way that's fair. So as a result of that, I'm going to reset this hearing, give Mr. Levenger an opportunity to be ready to respond to the petition that was filed. As far as I know, hasn't been served on him yet.
So he wasn't home to be
the
served until Friday
date-
afternoon.
The date for that next hearing is going to be on the 24th, Kayla.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Levenger, you're not going to get any new notice. Nobody's going to give you another, like, nobody's going to come up and give you a written notice for a hearing or, give you a call or an email or anything about this. This is your notice today. Okay, I'm telling you, and then I'm placing in your court file a written version of what I'm telling you, which is that your hearing is going to be on the 24th. And that document, I expect you will look in the court file, you will comply with. And that means your hearing is on the 24th, and the temporary order that the court previously issued for Ms. Grant is still in effect until then.
Okay.
Can you make clear to him that he's not allowed to trespass on my property?
That's part of this order. So, yeah, Mr. Levenger, you absolutely have to comply with the conditions of the order because you can be arrested if you don't.
Yes.
I just want to say that the 24th will be my 4th time attending court, and my son is missing vital medical appointments in order to make these. Because he has appointments Monday at 9 a.m. This is the 4th time he's having to miss a vital medical appointment because I'm a single parent who doesn't have anybody else to take him, so I can come back to the court to deal with this yet again. So this is seriously impeding my son's health in order to do this. And it's not as though we waited till the last minute to serve him Friday. He was not home. I made so many efforts to have him served.
I don't doubt that,
It
Ms.
took
Grant.
3 police departments
I don't doubt
and a
that.
sheriff's office,
I
and
don't.
nobody would help me.
I know that this isn't easy to do.
No, it's not.
And
It's terrifying.
sometimes,
I live in
sometimes
town
it takes,
since May 23rd of this man.
all right, well, Ms. Grant, the hearing date's going to be on the 24th. You've got notice of it too. Everybody knows now, everybody has sufficient knowledge in advance of the hearing and what it's about. So we'll conduct that hearing and make a decision on the 24th. All right, any questions, Mr. Levenger?
Where do I find this stuff?
All right, we'll see you back here on the 24th.
Same room
Same room
at 9 a.m. Yep. Okay.
at 9 a.m.
Okay. Do I need an attorney? Or what?
Yeah, that's entirely up to you, sir. You can hire an attorney if you'd like, or you can do this on your own if you like. That's your decision to make.
Is it advisable to do my own? I don't know. Hmm.
Okay, we are going to start the hearing, starting with the cases that do have temporary orders issued. And the first one of those will be Nicole Grant and Stephen Levenger.
Good morning, Your Honor.
All
Thank
right, good morning. Good morning. And Mr. Levenger, can you turn on your camera and microphone, please?
How do I do that?
I can hear you, Mr. Levenger. All right. This is case, there we go, 23-179. Okay, so we were here previously on July 10th, and Mr. Levenger had requested a continuance because he'd only recently been served. But now it's been an extra 2 weeks, so we're going to go ahead and conduct the hearing and to make a decision as to whether this temporary order that was previously granted will be extended. Okay, Ms. Grant, you're the petitioner in this case, and this will go for everybody whose case goes for a hearing today. After I swear the parties in, the petitioner will go first. I'll hear from you, any testimony that you have to give, any evidence you present, any witnesses you may have. After I've heard from the petitioner, then it'll be the respondent's turn, in this case, Mr. Levenger. Same thing, I'll hear any testimony you have, any exhibits that you want me to review, and any witnesses you may have with you. After I've heard from both of you, I'll make a decision. Is the order going to be granted or not, or something else? So please let the other party tell their side of it. Okay, don't interrupt the other party when they're telling their side of it. Keep in mind that you either will get your turn to tell me your side, or you just did and I already know your side. So both of you need to let the other do that uninterrupted. Okay, so can Ms. Grant, Mr. Levenger, can I have you both raise your right hands, please? And do both of you swear that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
I do.
Okay, very good. All right, and keep in mind that any material that you've submitted previously as part of this case is already part of the record, and I have reviewed it.
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Grant, go ahead.
Your Honor, can I say something really quick?
Yeah, please do, Joe.
It's just, sorry,
who are you, sir?
my name's Joel. I'm Stephen's brother. I'm just here to kind of, my mom asked me to call in to just help him if he needs any help. So,
This kind of support
know if you
person?
yeah, basically.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Just you can be there with him. There's no problem with that.
Okay.
Okay, and then for people who are not testifying or their case is not being heard right at the moment, make sure your microphone is muted. Okay, Ms. Grant, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. So basically this started on May 23rd when Stephen, I live in an ADU, additional unit, dwelling unit behind the main house, which is Avenue. Stephen lives basically like kitty corner across the street from the main home. And Stephen crossed the street and accessed my home from a gravel path that walks along the main house and comes back to my back in my house, which is actually accessed through the alley. So I can't see Stephen's property from my house or anything like that. This November, I will have lived at this property for 3 years with my minor child. And in the almost 3 years I've lived here, I've never encountered Stephen, never seen him, never met him. May 23rd, he came and knocked on my door. I'm a social worker. I work with unhoused families experiencing mental illness and homelessness in King County. So I work from home. So he came and knocked on my door on May 23rd, asking for a woman named Rachel. I said, no one lived here by that name. He was not really willing to leave, kind of just stood at my door and stared at me. I said, there is no one by that name. I have lived here for years. You need you're at the wrong place. He kind of sauntered around my property, wouldn't leave, came back and said, what about somebody named Avery? I said, no one lives here by that name. You now need to leave my property. Slowly, he kind of sauntered down the alley. And as I reported it to other neighbors, I shared it on the Ring neighborhood camera because they have indoor Ring cameras. Since then, I have mounted an outdoor doorbell camera, but at the time I only had the indoor cameras. I shared it with my neighbors in wanting to keep the neighborhood safe. Unbeknownst to me, it was the neighbor at the end of the alley that said, I believe him, or I believe I recognize him. He has some mental illness and lives with his mother across the street from me. He is harmless, but a bit discombobulated. I said, you need to tell his mother to come get him because he is scaring people in the neighborhood. At that time, that neighbor said, unfortunately, she has been going through chemo. She cannot get out of the house. He came and knocked on my door just yesterday at 5 a.m. and then he quickly walked away. I got up and went over to his house where he was just sitting on the porch and asked what he wanted. He said nothing. He was just bored. I think he is off of his medication, so he gets pretty confused. I spoke with other neighbors living on my block, has concerns for safety and to be aware that this might be true. So a neighbor, Virginia Sorrell, said, wrote a letter, which I will provide to the court. I just have not been able to do so. It's short, so I'll read it quickly. She said, my name is Virginia Sorrells. I live across the street from the Levingers at 1604 8th Avenue. A month or so ago, I encountered Linda Levinger standing outside her house. She seemed distraught and told me that she thought her son, Stephen Levinger, was having some kind of break. He had stopped taking his medication and was convinced that some friends from college were about to arrive, which according to Linda was not the case. That day, Stephen was walking around the neighborhood, apparently for someone or something. Linda appeared to be in rather frail health. She told me she was undergoing chemotherapy and a friend was driving her to appointments. She said she had another son that lived and worked in Seattle. So that was the end of her statement. Then, Your Honor, June 15th, I was, again, sitting here at my desk working from home, and I was eating my lunch. I picked up my napkin to wipe my mouth, looked over, and saw Stephen standing at my living room window looking inside of my home. So at that point, I did not open the door. I opened the window and said, I have already told you you are trespassing and you are not to be on my property, and I'm calling the police. He went to leave, again, accessing my house from the path that goes along the main house. I waited several minutes, went outside, and the neighbor, who also works from home at times in the main house, the other renter, looked down the back window, heard me yelling at Stephen to get off the property. He then came out, and Stephen was just standing on the sidewalk in front of their home, and he would not leave our shared property. The neighbor said, you need to leave. You should not be coming over here. You have no reason to be on my property nor her property, which we share. You need to go and you have to stop coming over here. And he said, I just live right over there. And we said, then you need to go home and you need to stop coming over here. I called Olympia Police Department and asked them to come to my home to speak with me as well as Stephen and his mother, because I know he lives with his mother, as previously mentioned, Linda Levinger. OPD said they would arrive shortly. And that was at 12:05 p.m. on June 15th. About an hour later, I got a call from an officer that said they would not be able to come to my home because they were responding to an incident across town. I live in West Olympia, right? So they were responding to an incident across town in East Olympia where Stephen had followed a 15-year-old girl off of a bus, followed her to her home, told her father that he was in love with her, wanted to marry her, and refused to leave their property until he received a sign from God. So from there, Stephen was committed to a mental health institution, and I was given that information by Olympia Police Department as they tried to serve him, and his mother explained that. So over the course of 3 weeks, I worked with the Olympia Police Department, the Centralia Police Department, and the Thurston County, Sheriff's Office in attempts, and also Joel Levinger, Stephen's brother, and Dan Levinger, in order to try to have him served in different facilities with no luck. So I paid someone, my friend, to drive from Briar, Washington, down here, 68 miles to my home because I don't have anybody in Olympia that I know. The only people that I know are people who were witnesses in this case, being my neighbors. Her to drive down here to serve him because he was not released until Friday. If you'll remember when I came to court last time, it was Monday and you said it was too soon because he was just served the Friday before, because that was the first day he got out of the mental health institution. So he was served, and then we came to
Yeah,
court.
I understand those sequence of events, and you outline those here in your written petition, which, you know, as I said, is part of the record and so forth. So in response to I believe it was the June 15th incident, you called the police department in Olympia. So as a result of the behavior that you're describing here, how do you feel about the fact that these events occurred, and what have you done in response to those things?
So I have, I feel scared. I feel very scared. I have worked with people with mental illness for the last 10 years. So I have a very, very strong knowledge of how people act when they go off their medications, and how people can escalate with psychosis, and how they can become more physically dangerous over time. So I do not feel safe. I do not feel comfortable letting my 8-year-old child play in our yard. You know, he's home for the summer. So as a result, I have informed other neighbors, just to be on the safe side. And not only that, but to support Stephen in, you know, being healthy and living successfully. So if they notice things that are, you know, out of the norm, or it seems like he might be struggling, please, you know, try to advocate. And because I want him to get the help he needs, right? So like I said, I had a neighbor help me mount a doorbell camera outside, which I did not previously have. So I no longer have to open the door to respond to someone. Previously, I only had indoor cameras. So I have done things to beef up the security of my home to make myself and my child feel safer.
And my next question you already answered was how old your child was. And it's just the two of you live in the residence, you and your child who's 8?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I understand the nature of your claim here. I'm familiar with it because I had an opportunity to review it previously when we were here 2 weeks ago. So, Mr. Levenger, now that you've had an opportunity to read the petition that Ms. Grant filed and hear what she's had to say here today, it's your turn to tell me your side of it.
I was under stress from my mom having chemo, and I was in denial about my bipolar for the last like at least 12 years. I only had one case of mania when in 2009 or 2010. And I thought that maybe I wasn't actually bipolar, so I was easing off the lithium and the risperidone a little bit since December. So, and I realized it was a big mistake after a little while, but it wasn't obvious it was a mistake, because the psychiatrist wasn't noticing anything funny in like April when I went to a psychiatrist again. And I know that I did take risperidone again on, I think it was April 19th when I made a video on YouTube showing that I can play the violin again easily and not have delusions that were clouding my mind. But the medication, I was taking the Depakote and the risperidone that the treatment facility put me on, but it wasn't quite enough to make the main delusion that was in the way with Nicole. It was giving everybody a hard time, but I needed to go to the treatment facility to get about double the dose, and I have been taking it. The pills they've been giving me.
Mm-hmm. That's your medication?
Yeah, I took my morning dose. Yeah.
Okay.
I got my evening dose I'm going to take. And it is making the main delusion to go away that made me think that a person called Rachel from my college days was helping me out with things. Because the main issue with mania is it makes things go much easier in your life. I was losing a lot of weight. I was playing the violin much easier. And I thought things were going fine. And I went to my psychiatry appointment. No red flags were getting shown to the psychiatrist, and they didn't think anything much was going wrong. Because I did go to the psychiatrist on June 14th, and they didn't think anything was much amiss. But ended up on June 15th that my delusion got control of me again, and things went pretty wrong because I thought Rachel was doing things again when she obviously wasn't doing anything at all. It was just my delusion in my head. And I ended up in the treatment facility for 3 weeks, gaining about And I was taking this Depakote and the risperidone before the treatment facility, but at the treatment facility, they just basically doubled it. So the delusion right now is pretty much gone, and I'm not under control of it as far as I can tell.
Well, you certainly do seem to be a lot better today than when we were talking 2 weeks ago. So it's good to hear that treatment and medication seem to be making things better for you. All right. And my question for you, Mr. Levenger, is are you still living in the same place, in the same neighborhood where Miss Grant lives?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any reason you need to go onto Miss Grant's property or look in her windows?
Never.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Joel Levenger, I know you've been listening here and helping your brother. Is there anything that he's missed that you think that I need to know before I decide?
Just that he's been having a hard time. My mom's been in the hospital in Seattle since before he went home. I think he had been asking her for some help and reaching out because he didn't really understand what was going on. And then she called me and Saturday and said, "Hey, can you call into a meeting on Monday?" So if he should have had a lawyer, I'm not sure about these proceedings, but I think he was reaching out trying to ask my mom for one, and she wasn't getting one for him. So other than that, I think what he was saying was pretty accurate. He's obviously under some significant mental delusions he was acting on. To my mind, he's been a lot better. We were trying to get him help. Psychiatrists he was seeing were saying that he was fine. He obviously wasn't, but he's doing a lot better right now. And I don't know that if he's under his delusions, if any sort of outside directive would have made it much of a difference anyways. But yeah, not much else to say.
All right. After hearing from both of you and reviewing the materials that you filed, I am going to grant the anti-harassment order here. I mean, Ms. Grant has clearly shown that there's been repeated behavior, that it was a course of conduct directed at her, that it caused her substantial emotional distress. And I think that under the circumstances as she describes them, any reasonable person would feel emotional distress by the actions that Mr. Levenger took. And I think we all know, and we're acknowledging that Mr. Levenger struggles with some mental health issues, and that he's in the intervening time, he's been given some help and some medications, and currently things are a lot better for him. But I think it's clearly best for everybody if Mr. Levenger just doesn't go over there, doesn't go peek in Miss Grant's windows or look through her windows or knock on her door. That kind of thing could certainly, upset any reasonable person. So I'm confident, though, now, Mr. Levenger, that given the frame of mind that you're in, that it's a whole lot less likely that you would do this. But if you find yourself struggling, I'd urge you to reach out for help wherever you get your help. So I will enter this order, and this order will continue for the next year until July 24th of 2024.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
I know you're the third judge that I've seen for this, and each time they asked me, like, how many feet for, so one concern that I have is, so the main house is off of 8th Avenue and Decatur, right? So I live in the alley off of 8th and Decatur. So I have to drive past Stephen's house all the time to access businesses and things like that. Is that, because they said, how far is his house from your house? So I said, I don't know, across the street, 50 feet, 75 feet, for him to access the main house or my house. So is that an issue that I have, you know what I mean, as far as like proximity?
Well, that's really for him to worry about. You are not restricted in, going past his residence or going out, whichever way you want. It's
okay.
The restrictions pertain to Mr. Levenger and his, knowing actions toward you or your property or your child.
Okay,
This order does not restrict Mr. Levenger from his home or access to his home, and I'll make that clear.
Mhm.
However, I'm going to put the same restrictions here that Judge Meyer did, which, you know, restrict you from going within 25 feet of her property. Now, that means, you know, the property, not the front door. That means the property where she resides. So, you know, just don't do it. Stay away from her place.
So just to ask, like, he could maybe be on the other side of the street if he's walking on the sidewalk, but not.
Yeah, just
Their side
keep
of the
that
street
25 feet and we're fine.
Okay.
Okay.
yeah, and we've been doing the same. Don't walk on his side of the street. If we were going to the park, we've been walking on the opposite side of the street and not going by the house. So we've been respecting that property boundary as well.
You understand that, Stephen?
Yes.
Stay on the near sidewalk and maybe not
Yeah.
go that direction.
Right.
Go towards the mall, not towards the downtown, if at all possible.
Right.
All right, I'm signing the order. It's really got the same terms and conditions as the temporary order. It's just going to be in effect for the next year.
And so how will we receive that, Your Honor? Will Stephen and I both receive a copy via email? Or
Yeah,
will that-
the court clerk's going to file it now, and it'll be going out later today by email to both of you.
Okay.
Thank you both. Thank you all.
I really appreciate your time today. Thank you. Joel. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
You as well.